Okay, the live streaming is started, so I guess you can go ahead and start whenever.
Okay, sounds good.
Rick, wait a moment. There will be two presentations. I think you have to tell the participants. But if you're interested in the presentation of Helene Demirci, you can go to the breakout room. The presentation will be held there. And then Rick, so you can.
Okay, can I start to share my screen?
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Rick Romanko, and today I'm going to be talking about using Xreading to implement a university-wide English program in Japan. And I work for Wayo Women's University, and that's the program I'll be talking about today. I've been teaching in Japan for 20 years at the university level and using extensive reading in some fashion during that time. And preparing for this presentation, I was looking back, and I actually made my first ER presentation at JOLT in 2002 and presented consecutively for a few years after that. And I think it was one of my first few presentations that the people from Oxford came, and they had the Oxford Bookworms Library, the black books, and it could all fit into one little cardboard sleeve, and it was a prize for the lucky participant of the conference. And it's amazing how far we've come in that time. It's quite amazing how many more resources we have now for ER. So today I'm going to be talking about, this is how we do it presentation. And if you're a R&B fan from the 90s, you can cue the Montel Jordan song of the same title. And I'm going to give you some background first about the English program at Wayo, why and how we started Xreading, show you some of the achievements that students have made, the comments and the feedback, the perceptions of students, same for the teachers, and then the plus minus of using Xreading for our program at Wayo. So let's look at the English program at Wayo and give you some background first. So it's a small university, about 3,000 registered students. We have 4 faculties and 9 departments. Every year there's approximately 750 new students who come in. And up until 2018, I was working for the Global Studies faculty in the Department of English Communication. And then in 2018, the president and the university wanted to create the University Education Center. And I was put in the position of the Foreign Language Division Chair and asked to improve the program or develop the English program. And this was for all students, all first-year students outside of the Global Studies faculty, because they do a little more English study. And basically, all of the non-English majors that come into our university have a TOEIC score of around 330, or a CEFR, maybe a high A1, low A2. So not a high level, but the students are motivated, somewhat motivated, and really will do anything you ask them to do, which you can't ask for more than that sometimes. So at our university, the first-year students, non-English majors, get 4 English courses, 4 required English classes that they have to take in their first year of study. And that is it for their 4 years of study. They only have a chance to study English in their first year, unfortunately. And they do that with 2 classes in the spring, cleverly titled AGO A, or English A, and English B, 1. And the A is taught by the native speakers, B is taught by Japanese teachers. Same classes in the fall, cleverly titled AGO A2, and B, English A and B2. And same teachers, same students, the second part of the course. We have 19 teachers from 6 different countries, and we do a placement test at the beginning of April and roughly divide our students into 3 levels of classes, 1 being the highest and 3 being the lower level class. And we have 51 classes in total. So there's a very small amount of time students are able to study English. If you do the calculations, it's the equivalent of 4 days of English study for their whole university career, unless they go outside and do some self-study and programs outside of the university. So the president in the University Education Center wanted to improve or better the English program. Up to 2018, all of the teachers basically set their own goals and objectives. Native teachers kind of focused on productive skills, Japanese teachers on receptive skills. There was really no standardization or coordinations there. And what do you do if you want to make a positive change? Like Nation and Warring say, best thing you can do is set up an extensive reading program. And we did three things, the foreign language division. We implemented the use of these can-do performance objectives for all classes. We asked all classes to go to a 4 skills approach. And then we also started to use extensive reading. So let's start with the can-do objectives. And these are basically just a list of objectives of basic skills that most teachers are doing in the classes already. However, we had a group of teachers we needed to nudge kind of forward that might have not been doing these things. And basically we want these teachers to use this list of skills to guide their classroom activities and practices so that a student coming into the university will get a similar learning experience no matter what English class they're taking. And that wasn't the case before 2019. And we want to give them practice and training in the same skills. And then we have some skills you can see in the red that we're focused on reading and English readers and extensive reading in particular. So let's look at how extensive reading developed at Wayo Women's University, how we developed it. So basically, we started in 2019 with that performance objectives list. And we had some objectives there related to readers and English readers and graded reading in general. Over the years, the library has been really fantastic, and I've been able to build up quite a substantial graded reader collection. However, it's definitely not enough for one for each student. And basically, the use in 2019 was the native speakers teachers would be using them in their classes predominantly, and students would probably read 1 book, maybe 2, do a presentation or have a discussion about that, or do a written book report. So it was not extensive reading they were doing. We were just using graded readers. And one of the earlier presentations, I think it was Mike Honeywood, said that you have to look at this best practices available and best practices in use. And for us, we were using the best practice available at that time. We had these graded readers, but I've been using ER for a long time and was aware of Xreading, so I knew that there was a better practice available. And then in 2019, the University Education Center staff comes to me and says, Rick, we have this call budget money. Do you know if there's anything we can do to use this money to help improve the English program? And right away I thought, oh, perfect. Yes, I introduced Xreading to them, and it took about a year, the process. So introduced it to the staff. We had some meetings, presentations, familiarizing it with everybody. We had an Xreading demonstration at the university for the non-teaching staff and for the teaching staff. And then we moved to a small trial at the end of the year. I think it was 3 classes, less than 100 students. And everybody was on board, especially the president was really impressed by this. And it's a small university, so if the president is impressed, we got the budget money. So perfect, we have 2 million yen. We could do Xreading for all first-year students. Dream come true. So we had 2 things. We had to start thinking about how we're going to explain this to teachers and introduce it to teachers. So all of our teachers probably are somewhat familiar with it, but they don't really, maybe some of them haven't practiced it. So we tried to make it really simple. Explained what ER basically is, and we have 2 aims of how we wanted to use it at our university. And the first was focusing on the message and comprehension. So meaning focused practice goal. Or students could also use it to have a reading, to improve their reading speed or develop their reading fluency goal. So either one was fine for us. And it was planned that most of the reading would take place out of class, although we always encouraged some use in class and making connections to what they read out of class in class as well. So that was step 1, trying to introduce it to the teachers and explain how we wanted to use it. And then we did an orientation session for the teachers as well. First year in 2020, Paul did an online session for everybody. And then after that, I've taken over in the subsequent years. And basically we do 2 things. We create a PDF for them, so they'll have that to go back to throughout the semester. So we highlight the features. We give them things they can do to help their students be more successful with extensive reading and on Xreading in particular. We create practice classes. We give them student accounts so that they really understand the experience students will have. So we try to set them up for success, and that's from the teacher side. And then the second thing we need to do is explain this to students as well. And we did two things for here. Created a PDF, a 15-page PDF, and we explain why Xreading, explain how they access their accounts, how to use Xreading, has images and text, of course. And then we also include the 3 rules that we want them to focus on for Xreading at our university. And this coincides with the first week is that teachers all do an orientation class. So it's orientation to the class and introduction to Xreading in week number 1 for all teachers. And we post this on the LMS, the school's LMS that we use. And then in the second week, we create a video all in Japanese. And this is posted at the end of the first week. So they've had the orientation, they've maybe used Xreading, but still there's a lot of people who are a bit anxious about it and maybe not sure. So they can just take this video at their own speed, and it gives them that backup and support. So make sure everyone gets off to the races fairly and evenly as well. And then the 3 golden rules, the 3 golden rules are just the Xreading, golden rules of, we want them to find books at their own level, read and listen to things that are enjoyable for them, stop reading if they don't like it, and read as much as they can. And these rules basically support our goals of the meaning focused practice or reading and speed fluency development practice of Xreading. And then 2020 comes and we're so excited to start, and all of a sudden, boom, COVID-19 pandemic hits. Our university decided spring classes were all on demand, so we had no access to students, not even screened face-to-face. In addition, everybody wanted to use Xreading, so Xreading was overloaded and they had to do a major upgrade. And it was chaos. It was one crazy year for everybody involved, I'm pretty sure. But it was, in one sense, it was a real savior to have this resource that we could use, but it wasn't without its problems. So let's look at that quickly. In 2020, so we had this resource that was already planned for us for use. And because it was such panic and teachers didn't know what to do and how to make the change to online teaching, the administrative wanted all of the English teachers. So remember, we have 2 classes, English A and English B. So every teacher was going to use Xreading, and they decided their own average course grade for it. They decided the word level targets for it as well. And you can see the variation there. We had, the average of about 30% for the course grade, and we had word targets ranging from 8,000 to 120,000 to 66,000. So there was problems, and there was no consistency. And what we were asking students to do is really unfair to students as well, because some had to read 8,000 words to get a high grade, and others had to read 100,000 words. So like so many things in that semester, wasn't well organized and didn't go very smoothly. However, 2020 fall was a little bit better. We learned from our experiences. We just focused on using Xreading in 1 class because of the students felt that burden of having to use it in 2 classes. And the foreign language division was going to decide the reading goals and the percentages for everyone involved. Paul helped us out with a nice rubric that we used, and we based our goals on a 60-minute reading week was the goal. And that was based on, I think, 60 words per minute reading speed. Our students are not very high. So to get that 100% completion of the goal, you'd have to read 43,000 words. And if you wanted a bit higher, you wanted to go above and beyond 54,000, you can get the higher score. Unfortunately, as you can see from the scores at the end of the semester, only 43% of our students were able to reach those goals in the end. So 2 things we learned from that. The reading goal was a little bit overwhelming, and because we only had 1 goal throughout the whole semester, humans leave everything to the last minute, and there was so much reading just done in that final week, and it wasn't good. So it wasn't good. However, in spite of that, students still read 20,000 books a semester on average and 20 million words. So modest for some programs compared to some other programs. But in 2021, 2022, we used the data and our experiences from 2020, and we tried to establish better practices. and better reading goals. And again, all our classes are still on Zoom up to this time. We've never used Xreading in a face-to-face class at our university, interestingly, up until this point. And the biggest change we made and the best change we made was moving from that one goal for all semester into Xreading assignments. And this was helpful because Xreading added this new function as well. So now we broke it down into 3 assignments, much more manageable. We based our goals and we leveled the classes, and we gave different levels, different goals as well. And so now I guess students would read in the last week 3 times a semester as opposed to 1 time a semester. However, it was really beneficial. And one of the, although the things that they read were similar, the book totals and the total words, you can see the 2021 totals in the box at the red there. And that makes sense because we based all of the goals based on like the 2020 achievements that they made, and we used those achievements to create our goals. However, what was great is that the 100% completion rate, if you remember in 2020, it was like 43%. Most students couldn't do it. Now, with these 3 assignments, we're having consistent completion rates, 100% completion rates of 70 and 80%. And this is not only for the level 1 higher students, this is for all levels throughout the class. So the administrative people and the teachers were really, really happy with this. So it was a dramatic improvement for everybody involved. And then you can have a look here at since we've been using Xreading since 2019, even this was the trial in 2019 up until this semester, which just finished last week. We've noticed that, probably similar to other universities, in the spring, in the pink boxes there, our students tend to read more books and take a little bit longer in reading time. And in the fall, they read less books and they take a little bit shorter reading time. And this is probably because 3 things we think. In the spring, of course, they're choosing the easiest books first, the shortest books, so they're going to be reading more books. They're just getting started and their reading speed is still developing. And also, their motivation is high as well. This is the first semester of their university life. Gambaritai, they're going for it. But in the fall, they switch to higher level books and their reading speed they're getting used to the system, getting used to it, and it takes them a little bit less reading time, perhaps. So again, positive results for us. Let's see what the students said. Students' perceptions. So we ask everybody, we give them 3 questions. We just ask them, do you think that Xreading, reading English books has helped improve your English ability? Also, does Xreading and English books want to make you read more? And consistently from 2020 to 2022, you can see the red is going up, 62% in 2020, 75 and 82 in all of the categories. So we have a really increased in their feeling of the perceived benefits of Xreading and English language study, and that's great. And we think that's also coincides with our improved program management as well. The Xreading site's improvement, the amazing new features it's had over the last couple of years as well. Better teacher orientation, student orientation, and communication as well. So I think it all works together. We also gave students a chance to write comments. And then you can see in 2020, it was mostly negative, 70% negative, 24% positive. A lot of the negative comments just came with issues of accessing. It was Xreading during that time because of the overload, the system overload. The positive comments came about some new experiences or opportunities in reading books they read in Japanese, now really enjoying them in English. And we had the comments that also had a kind of a positive and a negative. I was able to do this, but this was good. However, so that was 2020. 2022, we see a little more positive, a little less negative. Positive kind of focused around new experiences and opportunities, reading already known stories and things like that, improving their reading comprehension, feeling benefits from Xreading and reading in general. A lot of negative came about quizzes and using quizzes and making mistakes and hesitancy to contact teachers and resetting quizzes and frustration with that as well. And then finally, 2022, we have more positive than negative written comments as well. 2022, we can see that increased opportunities to study English. They felt that it wasn't even, they weren't even trying to study English, but they were studying English. And that's really amazing as well. Help them, give them opportunities to resources they don't normally have. Negative comments, again, we see quizzes and frustration and anxiety about failing quizzes and trying to reset them, or reading a book and not passing the quiz, but honestly reading the book and not getting credit for it, was their feeling as well. So those were some of the comments from just the written comments from students, in addition to their feelings about their improved perceived abilities, English ability improvement. Teachers were basically, their perceptions were along the same lines throughout. They were frustrated with the use in 2020, 2021 got better. 2022, we received lots of positive comments about the management, the orientation, keeping bringing teachers up to speed with everything as well. Teachers also told us about their classroom use, and basically we're aiming for that 80 to 20 use, and you can see that in the spring and the fall, it's in around there. First semester, a little bit more in the classroom. We always encourage that connection in the class, and they have conversations in groups using chat to recommend books, small talks. But again, lots of written book reports, maybe videos on book reports and presentations on book reports as well. Which brings us to my last comments about Wayo Women's University and the foreign language department using Xreading. It's been a huge plus for us, not without its issues, of course, but isn't everything. We can see that for us, just the positive side of it, the program management and setup, the tracking, the monitoring, the access to the results has been really good. Amazing new features that have been implemented over the last couple of years. Really easy implementing in online teaching, which we've been doing for the last 2.5 years. And this is how we get our money to pay for Xreading. It's a call component for us, so we can keep using that to get money and funding every year, give students access to English outside of class as well. Some of the things that are troubling for us and the students, students don't exceed their reading goals. Takase sensei suggested today not to assign a word target or a reading goal, and that's a point there, because once they read the goals, a lot of students stop, although we encourage them, you can get extra points if you keep reading. Quiz anxiety, frustration sometimes leads to minus motivation for students. However, you need to check that students are reading, so that's something for a discussion for sure. Some reading speed issues. Sometimes if students go to the end of the book too quickly, they can't revise that reading speed again. They can't preview books, which is somewhat of a natural experience if you want to just flip through the book first before you read it. And sometimes our students want to contact Xreading directly, but they tend to contact us directly, and we'd like to push them to Xreading sometimes and give them some support there. So we started Xreading basically in 1919, about one grade. We started using graded readers in 2019, I should say, basically one a semester for teachers. And now we have 80% of our students reading between 60 and 90,000 words a semester, thanks to being able to use Xreading and giving everyone access to that. I think for those who know Xreading, we really appreciate how wonderful a resource it is and how great it's become over time as well. And for those who don't use it, I think we saw in Paul's presentation last night about what's new and upcoming. There was a lot of wow comments for people who probably don't use it regularly. So I think if they get into using Xreading, once they take a bite of that poison apple, they will be hooked. I think it'll be great for them. I'd just like to thank everybody for joining my presentation today. And I'd really like to thank the organizers for making this process really smooth and enjoyable for me. And thanks, everybody. I hope some people found something useful that they could take into their programs as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.